Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head-on 2 of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan, tonight bringing you highlights of a panel discussion from Chandigarh, where we discuss Chandigarh being a smart city case study for entrepreneurs across the country. We do 20 such roadshows across the country to connect better with you, the entrepreneur. Tonight, listening to highlights of an expert panel discussion being moderated by my colleague Pooja Jain.
So with that, to kick off, and Kamal, I'd like to start my first question and this conversation essentially with you. What's so surprising about Chandigarh is that as a city, it has among the highest per capita incomes in the whole country. And yet the largest employer is the government. Now these two statements seem inherently contradictory. As an outsider looking in, how do you explain that?
It's true that Chandigarh was actually planned as an administrative city, and primarily it's an administrative city till now also. But basically, if we go through the persons who are residing in this city, especially the private persons, because of livability of the city, because of basic infrastructure which is better than other cities, almost everybody from North India, they want to live in this city, and they are settling here either themselves or they want to settle here with for future or career or education of their kids. So that's the reason that even after being an administrative city, it's having population or citizens which are actually having good capita income, and
Sure.
So this actually shows that either there are bureaucrats or administrative setup persons, or there are good financially capable persons who are residing in the city.
Well, sure. And the desirability of this city, of course, speaks volumes. But let's take it a step further. And I pose my next question to you, Naveen. Now, Chandigarh has, of course, been inducted into the Honorable Prime Minister's flagship Smart Cities mission. Have you felt the impact of this transformation, or in your view, is this largely a slow-moving effort?
No, that's there because we have a lot of talent pool here. The startups are the new story now. We have Flipkart from here. Just yesterday, there was another startup who signed the memorandum with the Punjab government. It's a pump cart. So all these success stories, talent pool is going to be the future here. Services, of course, Chandigarh being a limited space. Now we see Chandigarh as a tri-city. Mohali, Panchkula put together.
Sure.
So that is going to be there. And investments also will come because like Northern region is the front runner in the country as far as GDP is concerned, and Chandigarh is number 2 next to Delhi with almost 18% GDP. So we have all the reasons, and not to forget the quality of life here, the brand Chandigarh. Everyone wants to be here. So I think Prime Minister's mission is going to be very, very successful. Way ahead. We have a lot of success stories from here coming up.
Now, Saravjit, Naveen just talked about, the budding technology ecosystem here. But between all of the talk that Chandigarh is known for, be it urban modern design, be it its architecture and its infrastructure, doesn't technology inherently take a back seat?
I'll be honest to you, the answer is no. because we have always seen for any country, any state, any industry to grow, technology has to be the backbone of it. So assuming that technology taking a backseat predominantly because a city has its own essence, I think on a scalability perspective, it will always have issues. So coming to your thoughts, I strongly feel that since Chandigarh is more towards the service sector, the Chandigarh IT Park, which we have, plays a very vital role. And predominantly, even on the administration side, even on the industry side, though initially it was meant to be more towards manufacturing side, we have seen the MSMEs, the industrial area 1 and 2 taking over. But gradually we have realized that unless the technology transforms any industry, it is very difficult to take it to the next level. So in order to get into the scalability model, the technology have to drive it.
Sure. And I'll come to you now, Abhilesh. Now, of course, aside from the government sector, the next leading sectors in this city seem to be metals and machinery. And for smaller players in this space who might have smart solutions, technology-enabled solutions, are there viable opportunities for them, or do the traditional larger players in this space continue to, winner take all and rule the roost?
I'd come back from a consulting perspective. Two, 3 point of views. One, I think there is a large educational ecosystem which supports both the services sector and the manufacturing sector here. Second, because of it being a nerve for 2 state governments and 1 UT, you actually have a lot of government support for SMEs. We work a fair amount both with the Punjab government, with Haryana government, HSI, DC. There is a lot of support for SMEs coming in from both the state governments. Third, if I'm looking at livability perspective, I can't think of a better city. I personally come from Gurgaon, but we do a fair amount of work in Chandigarh. I can't think of any city in North India which beats Chandigarh on livability. So if I'm a SME, what am I looking for? I'm looking for talent. I have reasonably available talent. I have supportive state infrastructure. I have actually states competing with each other to go around and host me. What else do I look for? I look for a great place to live. Yes.
Got it all covered. Well, for members of our audience that might be first-time entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs or small and medium enterprises, I'm curious to understand what are the resources available at their disposal? What are the industry bodies that represent their voice? Whose doors can they knock on in their attempt to mature their businesses? And I'll pose that to you, Nandita.
So when we are like a almost 325 member strong organization, and we have a panel of members who serve as mentors, who are distinguished and who are accomplished in their own fields, and we have created an incubation cell. So all our women entrepreneurs, what they end up doing is we have a 3-stage process. So it's called Swayam and it's called flow incubation. So what happens is in Swayam, the micro industries or micro entrepreneurs or the ones who have really small setups kind of link up to them, and the ones who have a little larger perspective or have been in the industry for a bit but need to scale up are attached to the Flow Incubation Center. So what happens is the Flow Incubation Center is directly linked with the NSDC across the country and also linked with a lot of industrial houses across the country. And that kind of mentors them, gives them feedback, gives them ideas to how to pitch in their thing. And whenever we are informed about certain events across the country or anywhere else, where even abroad, where they can go and pitch in their ideas and have their entire structure revised or looked into, they have ample of opportunities for that.
Sure. Now, Samir, we've just heard of multiple platforms that are available, launch pads that are available, whose doors you can knock on. In your own professional journey, are these ever resources or contacts that you approached, or did these all come to light later after you sort of reached a certain stage of success?
When I started early 2000, there weren't enough, there weren't too many organizations, so it was more of ordering books on Amazon and learning, really. So you couldn't really knock on any doors. But around 2004 and 5, when Chandigarh set up the first incubation center, the government helped me move from Panchkula, which is one of the satellite cities, and move into Chandigarh. So definitely the government helped us and gave us land, or not land, space at a very reasonable cost. But I think all through, we've counted on the government to, handhold, and bring us to the IT park where we now have our own campus site. But through the years, organizations like CII, NASCOM, and TIE, they've been very, very helpful. And a lot of help that we need is more in terms of having that self-belief, looking at success stories, looking at people and saying, well, you can do it from Chandigarh, Like I said, when I started on my own, I was working for clients abroad. And really, there weren't really too many people doing that. So having that self-belief from that mentoring and that mentorship really comes from these organizations. And we've really leaned on all of them through the years and benefited from it.
Time for a very quick break on the show. On the other side, we'll continue bringing you highlights of that panel discussion discussing Chandigarh being a smart city case study for entrepreneurs. Much more when we come back. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, on this episode, we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that we did in Chandigarh.
What about SMEs and startups that have, very major bottlenecks with respect to funding, with respect to not being able to build out their management team, not being able to identify talent, not being able to give their business model the necessary tweaks such that they can achieve the next level of growth, in their trajectory? How do you advise them?
So let me answer this question in very simple 3S. The first is a setup challenge. The second is a sustainability challenge. And the third is a scalability challenge. So predominantly, when any startup is looking forward to begin with, he's going to have a major setup challenge, which obviously could begin with finding good resources. Because at the end of the day, trust me, if you have a good idea, money is not a problem. I think that's just one notion which we have predominantly been talking about, that there is no funding. I think if you have a good idea, there are so good platforms that you can go ahead and say, hey, this is what I do it. You just need to be a good salesman. And there is nobody else better than yourself who can explain your product. So as an entrepreneur, as a startup, I think you just need to understand that this is the journey. Once you have gone through the initial setup challenges, you need to sustain yourself. So there are going to be challenges through and through. I think we just need to keep finding the right problems and right solutions. We need to prioritize. What do I fix now?
And Sarojit, you mentioned an excellent point that you have to sell yourself as an entrepreneur. I have to say that in this city, there are so many countless multi-generation family-owned and operated businesses. And oftentimes, there's a resistance from the younger generation to join the family business. When you have such a secure path in front of you, why take the plunge? Why take the risk and potentially face, daunting failure, frankly? So in scenarios such as these, how do you counsel people on both sides of the equation?
When you're coming with family money and you have a lot of ideas, frankly speaking, it's the strength of the ideas which you're trying to sell. From translating an idea into a workable business plan, checking it out in the otherwise startup community and saying, okay, what is the worth of that idea? Before you go back for seed funding from your extended family, etc., etc. The first task is, what is the idea? What is the scalability of the idea? Can you go around and create a product out of it? So our advice also to the client we are advising. If I have a good idea, I can go around and easily in a space of a year and a half, 2 years, go around and scale it up to a business valuation of anywhere in the range of 50 to 100 million US dollars. The question is that idea? And what is the defensiveness of that idea? How do I defend that idea from 20 other people going around and having the same ideas? Today, the VC community is not funding ideas. They're funding ideas with a business plan, with an execution capability.
Well then, Samir, I'd love your take here. What more would you like to see from the government by way of smart services or by way of, e-services to essentially alleviate the company's burden and the company's bottlenecks as they mature?
I think we talk about smart cities and certain services that would be available in these smart cities, but there are other things that organizations like mine need, and they're not fulfilled by smart cities. So obviously, I would say that bring everything online so there are no delays. I continue to face delays in my business because of one approval or another. I guess smart cities would solve that. On the other side, I think in terms of an enabling infrastructure, Chandigarh is a planned city, but you see a lot more traffic in Chandigarh now. Our AQI is still very good, by the way, but it's only a matter of time. I guess, and there are smart solutions that can solve those problems, getting the cameras in place or whatever that infrastructure in place that can moderate the traffic or enable or get something else going in terms of mobility. So I think there's a lot to be done. The reason why Chandigarh is not growing as much is nothing to do with this, by the way. It's about, creating those really big success stories. And once those stories come in, then you will have entrepreneurs come in, and you will have people come in, and it becomes sort of a network effect. It becomes enabling for everybody in that sense.
No, very interesting perspective, and I'd love for you to weigh in here, Naveen. Where does the role of the entrepreneur end and the role of the government begin, or do the two need to go hand in hand through and overlap and coincide for there to be a successful outcome?
I agree with Kamal because in Chandigarh particularly, we don't have a political setup. So there's a constraint of bureaucracy. They have constraints because everything has got to be done by, they have to take permissions from Ministry of Home Affairs, whom they are falling under with. So they don't have legislative powers. They have executing powers. So at times, I won't blame the bureaucracy. We can have something like PPP modes, or else public-private partnership, or else some powers have to be delegated to the administrative bureaucracy setup more, which can help definitely because we have a lot of talent pool with digitization and the technology. So many startups are there. I just need who need hand-holding, that's it.
And Nandita, I'd love your thoughts on the same.
I mean, can I speak on behalf of the few women entrepreneurs that I'm representing?
Please.
Yeah. Okay, so when I talk about Flow as in Ficky Ladies organization, we see that a lot of women entrepreneurs who are probably in the setup stage are not even aware of the incentives and the schemes that are being put forward by MSME and the other government organizations. So even apprising them of all of those is like a huge step forward. For example, we had a few members of ours who visited a couple of countries for an exhibition because they had no clue that, the government would handhold them. So there are a lot of avenues which the government already has in place, but we are not able to avail them due to lack of knowledge. And I think that is, that is the first step that we need to educate them that there are ample opportunities that are already lying there. Come, have a word, look up, and then take a decision.
Well, I wonder if part of the problem, Samir, is that, sure, Chandigarh is blossoming into, an education ecosystem on the one hand, and it's a budding IT ecosystem on the other. But is there sort of, a brain drain that's occurring in this city? In that, even though there may be top talent that's educated here, grew up here, they're seeking opportunities elsewhere. And hence, all of these government initiatives, sometimes just don't reach that conversion rate that they should.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the biggest brain drain is the Flipkart founder, right? He's from Chandigarh, and he set up his business elsewhere. There's also Sabir Bhatia, who was here, and he moved to the US and wanted to set up something here, but because of bureaucracy, he could not. So absolutely, I think a lot of... Chandigarh could have been a different story. I don't know how many people know the story of Chandigarh, that Texas Instruments was supposed to come to Chandigarh. ended up being in Bangalore. Our loss. But I think the other challenge that I see is that the brain drain is also because there isn't the ecosystem, and while people want to come here, and some of them do come here, but they think that they can't really move jobs because there aren't enough companies. It's a matter of time, I think. I mean, we waited for a long time, but I think a few more years.
Okay. Well, I think that makes for a wonderful note upon which to close. I have to really thank my panelists for sharing such a rich range of perspectives from their personal and professional journeys.
All right, that's our show tonight. If you have any feedback, we're all ears. Our contact details up on your screens in just a moment. Do get in touch. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.